Hey everybody, first of all, it is an honor. I'm humbled to be here. There's so many people to thank. First of all, the pastor for having us here despite all the chaos that was going on. Of course, Rabbi Lifshitz, who's somewhere back there, for hosting me and bringing me to Idaho. What a state, yeah? Before we get started, I give you guys my story. I just want to do a quick little thing. So in Hebrew, there's three words that really define the Jewish people in general. And those three words are Am Yisrael Chai, which just means the nation of Israel lives. I would love it if you guys, as I take a video, everybody just says Am Yisrael Chai, right? I'll count it down if you guys are cool with that. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Am Yisrael Chai!
Now we can get to business. So, my name is Sam Freed. I'm 26 years old from New York, and I've never been out here. Beautiful place. But since I was 10 years old, my dream was to join the Israeli Defense Forces. Mind you, I come from a military background. My grandfather fought in the Battle of Normandy on Omaha Beach, which we just celebrated the other day. The commemoration. Yeah, and so I take immense pride growing up hearing the stories of my grandfather. Although I never met him, his heroism is in my blood, and I know that. And I heard before what Len was saying about all the former soldiers here, and I just want to one more clap it up for all the soldiers right here. We do not have the freedoms that we have today without each and every single one of our veterans and soldiers as it stands today. So thank you for that. And to the families as well, because they're the people who really suffer. So growing up in a very Zionistic household, I'm a religious Jew, wear a kippah, pray every day. And at 10 years old, like I said, I wanted to go and join the IDF. It was something that I felt was, there's an existential threat on Israel 24/7 on all sides. Our enemies are constantly out to get us, to destroy us, to swear our destruction. And I felt, before I start my professional career, I want to go and serve and protect my people. I have a lot of family who was killed in the Holocaust, and never again is not just a punchline. It's today, it's now, it's reality. And so, as I got to the age of enlisting, 18, I told my family I was going, and they're like, no, you're not. I'm the only boy in my family. I have 2 sisters, and my parents were like, there is no shot that we are letting you go to the army. We understand your convictions, but you're going to college, and that's that. And I was like, okay. But here's the thing, I'm going. And they were like, let's agree to disagree. So I made a deal with them. And I said, look, if after 4 years of college, I go get my degree, and I still want to go to the army, and I still have this conviction, I need you guys to give me your blessing, because I would not be able to live the rest of my life without doing this. I know this is my passion, so what I need to do, every workout I've ever done, every run I've ever gone on, every challenge I've ever been on in my whole life has been for this. This has been my motivation. If I can't do it now, I'm not going to be able to do it in the army. And that was my strength, it was my why. And so my parents, they said, all right, you have a deal. Obviously they expected after 4 years in college, I was going to have a job, a girlfriend, whatever it is, and I'd inevitably not go. But I had other plans. And just as COVID began in March 2020, I drafted to the Israeli military. And I drafted to the paratroopers, served in a whole bunch of different places during my service, in the north, in the south, particularly in the Gaza border, for 4 months in the summer of 21. And the specific place where I served is this place, it's a base called Masha Erez. Masha Erez is really where the Mediterranean meets Gaza and Israel. So you're literally on the sea, like on the water, very, very close, literally next to Zikim, which maybe you guys have heard about in the news. Masha Erez is unfortunately infamous for, on October 7th, every single soldier who was in Masha Erez on that base was slaughtered on the base. So 50 soldiers. And so immediately this was personal for my team and I. We were there for 4 months. We know the base in and out. We did a lot of missions from that base into Gaza. So this was very personal. But I also served in Judea, Samaria, a lot of work in the West Bank, and by the end of my service, I was a first sergeant, so I had a squadron below me. And so I finished my service, well actually before I finished my service, in May of 21, there was a quasi-war, right? It was Operation Guardian of the Walls, Shomer HaChamot, where 4,500 rockets were shot into Israel over the span of 11 days. And there was an assumption that what that war was supposed to be was potentially what this war was, right? We were thinking, okay, we're going into Gaza, that's for sure. There's gonna be this massive ground invasion, and fortunately it didn't happen. But there was this idea something's brewing, right? And this is not the end, right? 4,500 rockets to Israel. We destroyed a lot of Hamas's infrastructure at the time, but not everything, and we knew that there's a bigger battle coming. We didn't know when, but we knew something was coming. And so I finished my service in March of 22, come back to America, I already had a degree on my belt, and I started working at an international bank, and started doing project finance, very boring finance, who cares? Anyway, you gotta make money somehow, right? Yeah. So I'm working at the bank, and it happened to be the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah, which is the celebration of renewing the Torah, which is we do every year. And I'm by one of my friends in the city in Manhattan. I live in Queens. He lives in Manhattan. I was staying by him. He incidentally also is in the Army, same battalion as me, 890. And we're together going out late the night before. Like the night, I guess, is already October 7th in Israel, but we got back at 3 in the morning, going from synagogue to synagogue, party to party, whatever. We were drinking, having a good time, whatever. We get back, go to sleep just like any random night. 7 in the morning, one of our friends, I'm observant, my friend's observant, but there was one other guy with us who wasn't observant. And he wakes us up, he says, guys, Israel's at war. Okay, Israel's at war. For somebody who isn't in the military, and I said this the other night as well, for somebody who isn't in the Israeli army, when somebody who wasn't in the army says Israel's at war, you don't immediately think the worst case, right? You don't think Israel's actually at war. You think, okay, a couple 100 rockets shot into Israel, right? It's already a routine, we're used to this, has happened. May 21, we were both there, 4,500 rockets were shot into Israel, we didn't go into Gaza. It's not necessarily a war, right? Obviously this is different. Throws on the TV, we start seeing the news and everything going on. And after the sudden shock, right, I was too young in 9/11, but for what we considered our 9/11 moment, we said, okay, we need to get back to Israel. Right? Our teams are literally probably going into Gaza in the next, if not a couple of hours, next couple of days. And so we run to the rabbi, again, we're observant, and so we technically can't turn on our phones and check because we're observant. And so we go to the rabbi, we get permission from the rabbi to open our phones just in case if we're getting called. Obviously we were getting called, and check my phone, 20, 30 missed calls from my team, my lieutenant, my officers, my friends, everybody saying like, where are you, get here now, like get here yesterday already, right? Like it's that dire, the skies are gonna be closed, we don't know what's gonna happen. And on top of that, we already know that some of my friends are fighting, like they're fighting against the terrorists who went into their communities. One of my best friends, Ofer, had already gotten shot. We had no idea what happened to him. He was in the hospital. His phone is like, nobody's able to reach him. For 17 hours, we had no idea what happened to him. We certainly thought he was dead. He was protecting his community and the neighboring community from the terrorists who infiltrated. Unfortunately, they killed over 25 people in his community and over like 30 in the neighboring community. And he and his father and 2 brothers were the first line of defense before the army got there. And so his brother got shot, he got shot. Thank God they're both okay. But I mean, imagine, right? You're in your home and somebody comes into your home to try to murder you. that simple, to take the women and bring them back to Gaza, to rape them, or whatever it is. This is what people were dealing with on the morning of October 7th in Israel. Mind you, a lot of my friends, even one of my commanders, was at the Nova Festival. And he, thank God, by miracle, got away, ends up coming back to base the next day after knowing a bunch of his friends got killed. For him, this was like, this is what I'm made for. This is the fight of our lives. I want to give you a story about one of my officers. His brother is in the Delta Force equivalent in Israel. It's called Sayeret Matkal. It's, if you guys have ever heard of the raid on Taibi back in the day, so Sayeret Matkal were the people who rescued them. Okay, and so they're like the top force in Israel. So my former officer's brother was one of the first people to go into Be'eri on October 7th. He was killed by a sniper. He was a captain. He was killed by a sniper. And his brother, my former officer, got word as he was being called, right, to go to the same place, got word that his brother was just killed in action. And there's a rule in Israel that if you're the last son, you have the choice, right? If somebody was killed in action, you have the choice to go or not go if you're the last child. And so he calls his parents, says, Ima, Abba, Mom, Dad, IIA is dead. He was killed in Be'eri. And what should I do? What do you guys want me to do? My team is going to go in. And they said, because IIA was killed, you have to go. And so he inevitably, he ended up actually getting shot in the shoulder. This was at the very beginning of the war. He ended up recovering, went back to serve, and was with his team, and to this day he's still in the war. This is the mindset of Israelis. It's do or die. There's nothing else. This is it. We don't have anybody else. Unfortunately, this is the reality in Israel. And so, after a whole ordeal of figuring out work and my life and what's going to happen if I leave, etc., very difficult conversations with my family, as you guys can imagine. There's nothing more difficult than a child looking at their mother as she's crying at your feet, saying, do not go, do not go, do not go. And you tell her, unfortunately, I'm going. Like, this is, I have to go. Right? They have the elderly, they have kids, they have women. If I don't go, who's going to go? And so people always ask me, why? Right? So many people signed up for reserves in Israel for the war. 300,000. And including 30,000 people from outside of Israel who came back to Israel to join and fight. So they asked me, why'd you have to go? You're above the age, you're not in the army anymore, whatever. It's not necessarily for you to go. And I said to them, and I always say this, and again, I said this the other night, so sorry for people who heard this already, but my whole life, I viewed myself like my grandfather, right? He fought in one of the bloodiest wars and one of the bloodiest battles in history for America. Maybe the bloodiest, right? One of the craziest battles ever on Omaha Beach. And this guy's a hero, and I'm his grandson. What would he say to me? What would he tell me I need to do? But exactly, fight for your country. That's right. And I always said to myself that if I was living in the times of the Maccabees, I would have been a Maccabee. And if I was living in the times of the partisans fighting against the Nazis in the forest after escaping the ghettos and escaping the concentration camps, I would have been one of the partisans fighting against the Nazis. And if I was living in the times of the Irgun and Lehi and the Israel movements at the grassroots of Israel trying to liberate from the British, I would have been one of them. So history extended its hand to me and said, here is your golden ticket, here is your opportunity. You're going to say no? No. This is my chance to protect my people. Throughout history, for thousands of years, Jews have been targeted and have been scapegoats and have been murdered, massacred, raped, destroyed, pillaged. And it's my chance, my responsibility to be one of the fighting Jews in history. Of course I'm going to do it. It's the easiest, hardest choice of my life. Hard because I have to say bye to my family, but nothing more easy in terms of what I need to do. So, I go to Israel. I rejoin my team, and same team that I was with during my service, and it was emotional, to say the least, right? We all know somebody who was kidnapped. One of my best friends, his ex-girlfriend was kidnapped, and her brother at the festival, and one of my best friends, 3 of his best friends were killed, and there's everybody knows somebody. It's no different than if somebody in this community, God forbid, got murdered, every single person would know, and would feel, and would want to be there, and would want to help. It's no different. No different than on 9/11, when everybody heard of somebody, oh, my cousin's friend, whatever. Everybody knew somebody who was impacted. It's no different. It's the same. And that's how we felt on October 7th. Just to give you the idea. And so, we were training. The thought was maybe something was going to happen in the north with Hezbollah in Lebanon. And so we were training for potentially entering into Lebanon and fighting. And then they said, you know what? It looks like it's not going to happen. If they wanted to get involved, they would have already gotten involved. Although there is a war of attrition kind of going on. But we mean a real, similar to what happened on October 7th, was what we expected was going to happen. And it didn't happen, thank God. But we were training, and then we ended up going. They sent us to Judea, Samaria to do a lot of work in places like Jenin, Nablus, Hebron, all these different places that were terrorist hotbeds. And so we did a lot of work there, but like I always say, there was still this feeling that we're not here for Nablus, we're not here for Jenin, we're not here for Hebron, we're not here for Lebanon. We're here for Hamas. We want Hamas. They hurt us. They gave us a scar that we will remember for the rest of our lives. We're here for Nakama. We're here for revenge, and we want our people back. And we're going to get them back, by any means necessary.
Yeah.
And so, we wait, and finally a number is called. So my team and I, we end up going in to Gaza. End up going to a place called Sajaya, which is in the middle north of Gaza. And we're there for approximately, I don't know, like a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever. We come out, and they say, okay, send you back in for a month, and you're going to take over a city. The idea was essentially that intelligence was saying that this is an important city for us to take over. I'm not going to share why, it's not important, but we had to take over the city. It was quite close to Khan Yunis, which you guys I'm sure have heard about in the news. And so that was our job, take over the city with three other groups. And so that essentially looks like we have a strip going house to house, location to location, location to location, location to location, and just taking it over completely. This area, just to give you guys an idea, there are no civilians here. All the civilians have already left, have been escorted by either other teams or, my team and I have also escorted civilians to safety at the expense of our own lives. And so we go in, start taking over the city, and I want to share just a couple of interesting stories that I think you guys will take a lot from. So the first story is, the way that it worked was they said to us, 95% of the time that you have an encounter with the enemy, you will be ambushed. Expect that, right? They have drones that are going to find you first. You're not going to see the drones because they're a couple of 100 meters up. Can't even hear them because you're wearing earplugs, and it's just, they're going to ambush you. Expect it. Whether it's an RPG, sniper, AK-47 fire, whatever it is, it's going to happen. And it's a pretty poor way to go about things, right? To know, like, okay, we're going to get hit when we least expect it. And so we're in this building. We finished up the work for the day, and we're in this building setting up camp for the, whatever it is, 3-4 hours that we're going to be resting. And we're in this building. Some people are relaxing. There's like an emda, there's like a a defense position on the top floor. It's a 3-story building, and I'm in the floor below, directly below the window of the defense position with 11 other soldiers. There's 4 people in the defense position, and we rotate. And there's other people in other rooms, but there's about 40 people in the building. Essentially what happens is at some point in the late evening, not necessarily night, but late evening, all of a sudden, boom, RPG hits one side of the building. Everybody dives to the ground. We understand we're in the middle of an itaklut, we're in the middle of an encounter with the enemy, firefight. About a couple of seconds after that, this is usually how it goes. They shoot one, wait maybe half a minute, shoot another, wait half a minute, shoot another, all while things are going on. And so we get one RPG, then we get another RPG from a different end, we get another RPG from a different end, and we're shocked, okay? We're stuck in this building, we can't really leave, we don't know necessarily where it's coming from. There's AK-47 fire coming in. Literally, we're hearing the sounds, like it's everywhere. We're like diving to the ground, everybody's on the ground. I'm a sharpshooter, I'm a commander, so my job is to get to height, as it would be in any of these situations. So myself, a couple of machine gunners, and a couple of other grenade launchers and commanders go up to the top floor at that defense position, and we're going to neutralize the threat. Yeah, okay, thank God. We end up neutralizing the threat. We kill about 8 terrorists that night. There were 2 other terrorists who got away, but thank you very much. Appreciate it. There were 2 other terrorists who got away, and the way that Hamas works is they use this psychological warfare. What do I mean by that? They put out videos specifically of them attacking soldiers and saying that they killed such soldiers, right? So one such video that they put out is from this exact incident of them attacking my team and I, where you see them shoot the first RPG, and then you hear, like, you see my officer, you see my friend in the defense position, and then it cuts to the night, they shoot the first RPG, and then you hear like a bunch of gunfire, and then they cut the video. But in the snippet that they put out, they say they killed my officer and they killed my friend. Thank God they did not. But when you look, after the entire incident, we went around to assess what was going on. By the way, it was the middle of the night, and it was very, very dark. There's no lights in Gaza, right? You can't turn on lights because it's obviously dangerous. You're putting yourself at risk. And so you really only have night vision. It was only at the morning when the sun started coming up that we actually saw the damage to the building. One of the RPGs hit, say this little square here is where the defense position was. My team and I are on the floor below, right, with 11 people here, including myself, 4 people here. One of the RPGs made a gaping hole, smack in the middle. And I remember seeing the explosion, and it was like, if this RPG was 5 feet above, without a doubt, the people in the defense position are killed. It's not even close. If this RPG was 5 feet below, myself, I would not be standing in front of you people today. And the 11 other soldiers with me, arguably all dead as well. Talking about cataclysmically bad situation. Miracle, absolute miracle. But let's one up that miracle. In the morning when we see what happened to the rooms, there are walls riddled with bullets everywhere. And not a single person was more than like slightly injured. It was crazy. We're all looking at each other like, man, that could have been a lot worse, right? I want to give you another situation. These kind of things were happening all the time, right? These incredible miracles. And so, one other situation that happened was when you go into these buildings, you get intelligence, right? They're saying, okay, here we found a tunnel entrance. Here we found a cadaver. Here we found, I don't know, ammunition. This building is potentially rigged with explosives. And so we know exactly or relatively where we're supposed to go, what we're supposed to do, which buildings not to enter into, etc. And one such building, on a random day, my lieutenant, that same guy who was in the defense position, who you can see in that video, Yotam, he we're about to take over this building, and I'm the first team, right? Of my team of 30, I'm in the first class, I guess, right? And so, of 10, and so we're going in first. And so Yotam is leading us, and before we go in, he's like, the intelligence said that a building about 100 meters away, about 300 feet away, is rigged with explosives. This building that we're about to go into is not. But I don't know. Something feels weird. I don't want to go into this building. I think we should, before we go into the building, which is not like a crazy thing to do, to shoot at the building or whatever, shoot a grenade launcher into the building, just make sure everything's okay. Maybe there's terrorists waiting inside. You have no idea. Crazy things happen all the time. But we just went into 3 other buildings, and Yotam did not have this intuition. And so we say, okay, so we're going to go back 100 meters, and it kind of takes more time, and this means that we're not going to be able to get to a different building we wanted to get to. Yotam's like, you know what? It's my choice. I'm deciding we're going to take this safe route here. So we go back about 100 meters. My friend Eli shoots a grenade launcher into the 2nd floor of the building. Just to give you guys a context about what a grenade does to an actual room. Say a grenade blew up right here, there would be very limited damage to this room, right? I mean, maybe the people in the front, a couple of rows, sorry guys. You guys might be a little bit injured for sure, but the radius is really only, the kill radius is 7 meters, right? So 21 feet. And then beyond that is like 14 for injury meters. But what it would actually do to the room would be fine. We shoot this grenade into the 2nd floor of the building explodes. I mean, in the air, to the point that we had to dive to the ground because the debris and the concrete was coming at us from 100 meters away. It was completely rigged with explosives. And so, I remember I turned to Yotam and I'm like, I don't know what got into you for that building, but God bless you. I think that was, we would have all died. We would have all died, and it's not even close, right? You wouldn't have even been able to find your bodies. You guys just clapped, and I think the interesting thing about you guys clapping is that I wish I could explain to you how little that is my merit and my team's merit, because it's not. It's God. But also, with God, it's every single one of you who have been praying for us, and saying extra prayers, and thinking of us, and giving us your thoughts, and giving us your prayers in our darkest hours. I mean it when I tell you I would not be standing in front of you today speaking to you if not for each and every single one of you. Truly, truly, I mean that. So thank you, really. You guys deserve a clap. We truly feel it. We feel the prayers. We really, really do. The difference of a bullet hitting my chest or hitting right here is your prayer. The difference of the RPG being 5 feet below or 5 feet above is your prayer. It's not us. It's not our luck. There's no luck. It's all God, but that comes from you, and you're begging God to help us. So thank you. So, Gaza, right? We end up doing a whole bunch more missions, find a ton of material on where tunnels are. I found about 40, 50 different tunnel entrances. My team and I probably, and I always say we don't count the people we kill, we count the people we save, but my team and I, we end up, thank God, neutralizing about 50, 60 terrorists in our about 50 days in Gaza. And we finish our stint, and we come out, and this is late January. We come out, and I'm going back home, right? My family is waiting for me. I haven't seen them in 4.5, 5 months. And I get back to America. Not the America I remember. Not at all. I remember America when I left supporting us. An America that was sympathetic to Jews and to Israel. And I come back to an America where there are encampments and there's people yelling for an intifada revolution, and for people asking for the Zionists to be kicked out, and for people to murder Zionists. I don't know if you guys just saw yesterday what happened in DC. People literally saying that Zionists should be killed, asking Hezbollah to come kill Zionists. How many people in this room consider themselves a Zionist? And before you raise your hand, it just means the right of the Jewish people to have a homeland. These people are asking for your death just as much as mine. Understand that. And as we speak right now, there are 5 U.S. citizens who are hostage in Gaza and have been for today's 247 days. Why is nobody talking about that? This is not an Israel against Palestine. This is not a Muslim against Jew issue. This is inhumanity against civility. Okay, this is terrorism against democracy. This is America against our enemies who want to see us crumble. And after they come for Israel and the Jews, they're coming for us. They're coming from Idaho. They're coming for everybody. Because they don't care about freedom. They don't want freedom. They want death, destruction, and their way, and no other freedoms. And that's why I truly salute you guys for your support and your unity. But again, I want to stress this isn't just unity for Israel, unity for Jews. This is unity for America. This is not an Israel issue. This is an us issue too. It's coming here. I guarantee you, it's on its way. And the politicians and us, everybody needs to wake up. Because if you don't want another 9/11 to happen, you have to do something now. Because it's almost too late. It's almost too late. But what will make us strong, what will continue our ability to fight against these people who hate us, and hate freedom, and hate democracy, and hate America, and hate Jews, and hate Christians, is to unite. And to be together. Hand in hand, side by side, like we say in Hebrew, katef katef, shoulder to shoulder, no matter what. So I appreciate you guys so much. Truly, it's humbling, and I'm so fortunate for the opportunity to speak in front of you people. You're incredible people, and I try my best to do as much interfaith speaking as possible because it's so important for people to understand that we are each other's closest allies. You're taught. And we have to be here for each other. Doesn't matter what happens, we have to be here for each other. And when people ask me, specifically non-Jews, they say, okay, what can we do? How can we help? My immediate response is always a hard-line stance. That you stand with us unconditionally. We're not going to get into that, but it's for somebody else to come speak. You can come speak after me. But that's the name of the game. Standing together, because we're so much stronger together than we are if we're just alone. So I come back to America, and I see all this hate, and I decide, okay, there's a new battlefield that is called my name. That is the ideological one. So I've been to all the encampments, and I've been doing debates, and I've been doing all this stuff, and even today, I was at the shul, at the Chabad, in Boise, with the rabbi, and somebody tried to come into the Chabad, tried to break into the Chabad. We're talking in the synagogue, and these people always say anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. You're literally proving the opposite by coming into a Chabad, which is the same thing as a church, which represents, a church obviously representing Christianity, a Chabad, a shul, a synagogue representing Judaism. You breaking into it and yelling that we're committing genocide, that is you saying that there's an inextricable link between Zionism and Judaism. This is what we're up against. These people don't understand. They're so crazy. But unfortunately, and maybe it's not the majority, the silent majority has to be irrelevant. And why did Nazi Germany succeed? Because the silent majority was irrelevant. We need to be relevant. We need to speak out against hate, all forms of hate. And if we continue to do that, we will be successful, and we will win, and the light will shine. So before I let you guys ask questions, I want to end with a quote. I always end with this quote, and it's a really important one. And my rabbi said it to me before I went back. And he said, War is one of the worst things in the entire world. But it's not the worst thing. The worst thing in the entire world would be living your entire life without ever finding anything worth fighting for. This, whether it's the continuity of the Jewish people, or the alliance between the Jewish and Christian communities, or democracy, or America, or whatever it may be, this is worth fighting for, and it always will be. And we can never give that up. As I thank to all of you incredible people, I thank you again for your support, and I hope for very, very good, happy, healthy, and peaceful times for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, Sam's going to answer some questions. So I've got the mic, I'm a runner. You guys raise your hands and I'm going to come to where you are.
And just, guys, as hard of questions as you want. I'm ready for that. This is training.
Does Israel think that the hostages are still in Gaza, or have they been smuggled out?
It's a really good question. Look, I'm not a military strategist and I don't speak on behalf of the IDF, nor Israel, but I would say, given that we found 4 hostages yesterday, or 2 days ago, and successfully extracted them, I would say that there's a good chance that a large majority of them still are in Gaza. Obviously, it's impossible to know exactly. I am confident, given that Israel has formerly, whether in Sabina or whether in what's it called, back in, I was saying the rescue mission, I'm sorry, thank you very much, I forgot the word, in Tebbe, that we've been able to extract people from outside of Israel as well. I'm positive that if there was a need for it, we'd be able to do it and succeed. But to your point, I mean, if you're a terrorist organization, I would probably take them out of Gaza, right? And we see that there are tunnels from connecting Rafah and Egypt. We found 50 of them already. It's really impossible to know at this stage, but I'm pretty sure Israel has a good hand on it. Yeah. And we're going to get them back, trust me.
The hostages were found in 2 different areas, is that correct?
Yeah.
And in Zamora, was he the first one to go into one? And is it boots on the ground intelligence that you knew that they were among the Palestinians? Is that true, that they were with the Palestinians?
That the hostages were.
The hostages?
Yeah.
So that just seems so bizarre.
You would think it would be bizarre. Unfortunately, that's been the tactic that Hamas uses consistently throughout the war. I mean, they're hiding. When we came into Rafah 3 months ago and rescued the 2 Argentinian hostages, they were among civilians as well. And consistently throughout the war, we have found that on October 7th itself, 3,000 people came in, about half of them were civilians. And took, like Noah, for instance, the Asian hostage, she was taken by civilians. She wasn't taken by Hamas. And so, it's really unfortunate that civilians are brought into this mess, and this is an important point that I want to bring up. People are complaining about the fact that a bunch of, we don't know whether they're innocent or not innocent, Palestinians were killed in the process of the extraction yesterday. The response that I like to have for that is threefold. 1, if you never took our hostages, we would not have to go get them back.
That's right.
Okay? 2, if you gave them back any time in the last 8 months, we had October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. We're now in June. 8 months, 247 days. If you gave them back any of those days, we wouldn't have to go in and get them. And finally, if you didn't hide our hostages amongst your civilians would not die. If you can't be upset when civilians die when you fight a war among civilians. So I'd like to say to all those people complaining that civilians died, A, blame Hamas, but B, we are coming to get our people. We're going to get them back, So either stay out of our way or take a seat.
Is this on? I'm going to read a question that was submitted on a card.
Sure.
How dependent is Israel on the United States to finish off Hamas?
That's a really good question. Look, the United States and Israel's alliance is deep, and Israel and the United States have helped each other for many years. The United States has been instrumental in our ability to do and have the military that we have today. And the economy that we have today is in large part because of our relationship with the United States. Like I said before, we are each other's closest allies. And that's an unbreakable bond. I think, given the political nature of this and the fact that, again, I don't want to get so deep into politics, but the president has said that he wasn't going to give certain munitions to Israel that they desperately need in order to finish this war off. The unfortunate thing is that this war would have been over had there hadn't been all these obstacles in the way. We would have finished this war months ago if the international pressure led by the United States wasn't there.
That's right.
We do not want to be in war. We have never wanted this war. We will never want to be in war. Unfortunately, we don't have a choice because our enemies want to destroy us. They've made that very clear. We need, like I said before, we need a hard stance. We stand with Israel. We will always stand with Israel. And we need to get rid of these people just as much as Israel does. Because like I said before, they're coming for us in America right after Israel.
I have heard some about the laser Iron Dome. How close are they to implementing that?
Wow, yeah, no, the laser Iron Dome is crazy. I mean, you're talking changes the game. The Iron Dome itself is extremely expensive. I think it's each rocket, so every time there's a shigul, that meaning like a rocket that's coming within a civilian area, it calculates, etc., and it sends 2 missiles, like defense missiles, to intercept. So each one of those missiles that is shot up is $50,000 US. So it's very expensive. And considering there have been 10, 15,000 rockets that have been shot since the beginning of the war, it's a lot of money. And to replenish those is a lot. So the laser is supposed to really, with economies of scale, completely like make that almost an insignificant number, where each laser that is shot will be like very, very cheap. I think from what I heard is that in 2025 they were planning on making it available. This is like public news. I'm not sharing anything that's top secret. If I am, Mossad, wherever you are, just don't mix me. But from what I heard, in 2025 they were going to implement it in the south. This is before the war, to I think fight against the Houthis because they were third threat. I don't know if they've ramped that up now, considering, but I would find it hard to believe that they would use something so premature and so like in its infancy during something as serious as this. So I don't see it happening in the near future, but maybe as a supplementary machine that could help. I don't know, something like that, yeah.
So it looks like we have quite a few questions.
Yeah.
Would you guys be okay with coming and making a line of everybody that wants to ask, and then we can be incredibly efficient on this? While we're doing that, I'm going to read another from a card. How did your faith help you cope with the challenges you faced in Gaza and upon your return?
Wow, loaded question. So, like I said, I'm a religious Jew, and a proud one at that. And I think, look, it's very difficult when you're getting shot at, and you see people getting killed, and you see people getting injured, and you have this feeling of, why am I alive? Why? Like, it's this feeling of survivor's guilt, which I think any other veteran here could probably say that they feel the same thing in some capacity. I truly feel that in the end of the day, everything comes from God. And there's this idea in Judaism called hashgacha pratit, which is divine intervention. For whatever reason, I'm meant to be here. For whatever reason, I'm meant to fight and to be speaking in front of you guys today. And I always say, if my mission wasn't to inevitably die on the battlefield, It means that there's something more important for me to do to serve the world. And that I really genuinely believe is partially what I'm doing now. Strengthening the relationship of Christians and Jews, making sure that people understand what's going on, to empower Jews, to empower Christians, to empower our allies. And look, at the end of the day, why I'm here and why somebody else isn't, I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. But man, you gotta do, life is a blessing, and this is really icing on the cake. Whatever I have from here on out I shouldn't be here, truly. And so I'm honored to be here. And thank God for that every day. And again, I thank all of you for your prayers.
There's a question in here, it just might take me a little bit to find it,
Oh, me too.
but we live down the street. I'm so grateful that this church has been pro-Israel, it was on their kiosk out there.
It's awesome.
Other churches I've been to in the area have not been as outwardly supportive of Israel.
Mhm.
And I've spoken to our pastor about it, and they categorized it as, after COVID, you don't want to get political. I don't see this as political.
I appreciate you saying that.
No, it's a lovely church, and I'm probably not saying it as well, and they addressed it at the very beginning. It raised money and addressed it, but it wasn't to the extent I think it is worthy because of the historical connection between Christians and Jews. And as I look out here today, there's a lot of gray hair, self-included. Not as many young people.
A day over 20.
Yeah, bless you. Mom did a good job. But what can we do to make sure, I want to see 20-somethings, 30-somethings, people in their teens. What can we do as a Christian community, as just a community at large who knows the difference between right and wrong, to start the dialogue? Because I'm shocked at how many people are not aware of what is going on. So what can we do to galvanize the support, to build up the awareness at the younger levels when some people think it's verboten to speak about because it's, quote, political?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. There's a bunch of things you could do. First and foremost, I think we're doing it right now, right? While there are a lot of older people here, there are still younger people here, and I salute you for that. I think the problem with our generation is, social media and everybody getting their news from TikTok and Instagram and whatever, and they hear something and they immediately assume that that's fact, and anything else, everything is confirmation bias. And so, beyond, like you said, it's not a political issue right now. This is a humanity issue. And we need to really get to the bottom of the foundational values that are Christian values as well as Jewish values. And we need to preach that and make sure that people understand, okay, this is not right, like this is literally, it's fact. There is no gray area in fact. People need to be educated. I think that's really the most important thing. And what I try and do is, look, we're 8 months into the war, and how many people in this room have heard from an IDF soldier before who was in Gaza? Probably not many. And my point being is that's really my goal, right? To humanize the IDF, to explain the relationship and the history and everything that's going on, and to amass the support and the unity that we truly need to bridge the gap. Because I think that the biggest problem is that, like you said, the other church, they don't want to get into it, there's too much politics involved, but somebody needs to be the person to bring us together. So that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to go around. If anybody here knows of other Christian communities throughout the whole world, I don't care, wherever it is, I will go to the end of the world to make sure that people hear me. Because this is what my mission is, to bring us together. And that's what we need to do. I truly believe that in the end of the day, if people just speak and humanize one another, that's it. It's that simple. Like, look at me, I'm a human being. I laugh, I cry, I smile, I get upset. I'm just like anybody else. Yet, on the news channels, I'm a baby killer. Can any single person in this room look me in the eyes after what they've heard me say and say that I'm a baby killer? An outrageous thing to say. So, it's just so unfortunate that the news just pits us against each other. We're one and the same. It's that simple. We need to preach that.
After all the hostages are recovered, could Israel ever accept a kind of a peace arrangement with Hamas still in place?
I'll say it like this. Short answer, no. But with a caveat. Whatever they want to call themselves, whether it's Hamas, PIJ, whatever they are, radical Islam, so long as their charter, which calls for the murder of Jews, not Israelis, Jews, and so long as their leaders are preaching for the murder and slaughter of Jewish babies, there will not be peace. It's impossible. You cannot make peace with somebody who does not accept your right to exist. I'm not going anywhere. I promise you that. And maybe they're not going anywhere either. But I guarantee you that we will outlive them, just like we've outlived everybody that tried to kill us.
Hi.
Hi.
So you mentioned you're visiting the encampments to debate with some of the protesters. Just curious about the ideological arguments you have with them. It seems that a lot of Hamas protesters right now have a mixture of different ideologies going on. We're seeing some like Marxism, communist agenda popping up at the universities in England, and then also Hitler book is coming back real strong, and so it's a little like seems like a hodgepodge of a lot of things going on. What is a successful united argument, or I don't know, has there been any success talking to these protesters, lost cause right now, or?
It's a tough one. I mean, I go to these protests, and if anybody looks at my Instagram, you'll see I go with one goal, to try and have a productive dialogue for peace. I go and I say, as an IDF soldier who is in Gaza, I want peace, I care about Palestinians, I care about Muslims, but I need to be respected. I need to have a partner in that peace. Unfortunately, 95% of the people are unwilling to even speak to me. They won't. They're scared. I don't know if they're scared to speak to me because I know the facts and they know that they're gonna get rocked, but it's become such fashion to just cut yourself off and say, yeah, okay, we're just gonna agree to disagree on historical fact. No, there are objectively things that have happened, and you can't take those away. Like I had somebody on a college campus recently say to me that Israel didn't leave Gaza in 2005, and she was insistent on it. I'm like, it's so easy. Open up your phone and just type in, when did Israel leave Gaza? It's so crazy to me that people can argue objective facts. Is the sky blue? What is going on here? I mean, and again, I think the fundamental problem here is that people are getting their news from improper places. They see one thing on Instagram or on TikTok and think, oh, this is the ultimate truth, right? And that's just not how it goes. And again, it's confirmation bias, just recycled and recycled and recycled, and it's toxic. But again, I'm willing to listen to their side. I don't mind. And again, I go to these debates with the effort of having a productive dialogue, but they don't know the facts. So they're making these baseless arguments that don't make any sense and are not based in fact. And when I say something that is historically true and show them that, they're like, that didn't happen. And it's like, but you're wrong. How can I tell you? You're just simply not right. And these people just don't want to accept anything. And I think it's just, I hope it's a fad. I hope it's just fashionable today. But the problem is that it's people our age that are going to be inevitably running the country in 20 years, 15 years, whatever it is. That's a scary prospect, considering how many people are on these Ivy League campuses and on these great college campuses and preaching this pro-terrorist ideology. I don't know how you fix that. I think it really just has to be, we stand united and we do not back down. We can't be scared. This is not the time to be scared. This is the time to get in their face and say, listen, you're wrong, buddy. I don't care what you say. We are not going anywhere, and I don't care if you keep preaching Intifada revolution or whatever it is, and you can do whatever you want, but you are objectively wrong, and we are not going to say that you're right just because you scream it louder than us.
I'm wondering how Israelis are eating. It's hard to know exactly where to get news from, but I've heard there's fires now in the north.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if people are planting or harvesting, and I'm just wondering about that.
Yeah, right now what's going on in the north is taking a back seat to everything going on in Rafah. It's bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's really bad. And there's a very good likelihood that there's going to be a war with Lebanon in the next coming weeks / coming months, to which I will likely go back to. But look, there are definitely a lot of fields that are on fire, like Kiryat Shmona was essentially burnt down in the north. And in any other circumstance, I think we can all agree that would probably, and that's due to rockets and everything being shot by Lebanon on a daily basis. In any other circumstance, that would qualify probably as an act of war, and we would likely go to war with them. This is obviously a very difficult one, and the last thing we want is a two-front war. That never goes well for somebody in war. So we kind of have to finish off what we're doing in Gaza, in my opinion, and then we can turn our heads and look north. But as far as what people are eating, they're fine. I mean, like, relatively. But, like, look, it's difficult. There's 200,000 people in the north of Israel who can't return home and don't have a date to return home. Because they simply can't. They're getting bombarded every single day. It's not safe. And then there's 70,000 or 60,000 people on the Gaza border and like in Ashdod, Ashkelon, or whatever, can't go back to their homes either because they've been either destroyed or they're displaced because of all the rockets. So we're in a situation right now where it's crazy because if any other country in the world was in this situation, it wouldn't even be a question that they could defend themselves. But you know the good old story about Jews, right?
Young man.
Yes.
God bless you.
I see you as a soldier for our God.
Yes.
And humanity. And I really appreciated you sharing your perspective on whether it was today or whether it was the battles of years ago, that you would have been a soldier no matter what. And that's what we all have to realize we are. The pastor said this morning in sermon, the church is not this building, it's all of us. And if you haven't read the book, A Letter to the American Church by Eric Metaxas, I urge you to read it. It talks about the church standing down during the time of Nazi Germany, the German church. And I am so thankful that there are pastors that are not willing to do that. And I'm thankful. And I'm thankful to be part of a church of people who feel that way. So you are in my prayers every day from here going forward. So God bless.
I appreciate it.
So yeah, young. As a minor in America, what do you think is the best way we can help? What do you think is the best possible thing?
Educate yourself and show up. Right? There's so many people who sit on the sidelines today. You think you're too young, you think you're whatever, who am I to do this? Show up, because that's 95% of the battle, right? If you show up, just showing support, like you are today, wearing that shirt, I mean it, you don't look like a minor to me. You're an ally, standing next to me, in this war, in this battle. And that doesn't just go for Judaism, that goes for anybody who's being persecuted, anybody who's being unallowed to do what they want to do because of who they are. We have to stand up against hate everywhere, in every shape, every form. Just show up. It's that simple.
A former president of the United States said several months ago that Hamas was winning the PR war. And we see the influence of our news agencies all over the place. Can you give us some practical advice on steps to take to stop this PR war against Israel? We call our congressmen, we pray, we get other people to call, how can we stop this news agency for all the lies and the propaganda that people are swallowing from them? Do you have some practical advice?
Man, if I had the advice for that, I would not be here. I'd be somewhere else making a lot of money. But in truth, I think in any situation, as difficult as this one is and as deep as this one goes, it's about educating yourself on the topic, right? It's about understanding, okay, these people are saying these things, but why are they wrong? Why is this not, why is this not a genocide? Why is this not an open-air prison? Have the answers, because in the end of the day, we're not going to get through to any of the people who are so far gone, who already believe that we're committing genocide. I don't believe I'm going to get through to any of them. But it's the people who, in the surrounding, who are listening to our conversation when I speak to them at a university or wherever it is, having a debate with them. It's the people just standing in the background listening, saying, wait, oh, that's super interesting. I didn't know that that was the case. And again, you're not going to get everybody. It's impossible to get everybody, and these people are loud, and we understand that they're loud, and it's a numbers game. Look, there's 16 million Jews in the whole world, right? There are 1.8 billion Muslims in the world, and I'm not saying that all of them are bad. I'm saying that if you want to take the conservative estimates, 30% of those people are considered extreme Muslims, which means 540 million people of that 1.8 billion. That's almost the United States and a half. So it's a numbers game in the end of the day, and unfortunately, they have the numbers. But what can we do? We need to be stronger. Again, we need to stay united. They're literally using falsehoods. We have to come back at it with fact. And more important than that is, if people are going to show baseless hate, our only way of fighting that is by showing baseless love. I mean that.
You can also join the Idaho Israel.
Oh, Israel,
Hi, so I just wanted to say this is really cool to see an interfaith gathering with this community. To that point, I wanted to acknowledge that I think one of the motivating forces that you said for the invasion in Gaza was revenge. And I'm just curious, that's something that's not incorporated in the gospel of Jesus that as far as I remember, I was raised in a Christian home. And I guess I just want to understand, because I've seen the conversation from the IDF be that Hamas uses human shields, and so that it justifies killing men, women, and children and civilians in Palestine. So I just wanted to know, as an IDF soldier, who are you not willing to kill in order to kill Hamas people?
So, interesting question, and I'm happy you brought it up, honestly. I'll make something very clear. When I said revenge before, I don't mean revenge against the Palestinian people by any means. Okay? I don't even care if you associate yourself as part of Hamas. If you're not an active member of Hamas and you're not providing material support to Hamas, you are not a target for us. Okay? Women and children are not targets for us. Hamas is going to be destroyed. And call it revenge, call it whatever you want to do, security, defense, whatever you want to call it. The only way for us to be able to move forward and have peace for the Palestinian people as well as for the Israeli people is for Hamas to be destroyed. It's that simple. There is no other solution. When an organization is calling for a murder and saying this is just the rehearsal, that October 7th was just the rehearsal, that they're going to do it again and again and again and again and again until there are no Jews left in Israel, how would somebody else take that? Because to me that sounds like a threat. And after October 7th, we are fully within our right to destroy them, dismantle them, and get rid of them from the face of the earth. And we intend on doing that. That's my preface. So the rest of the question, you also have to look at how wars work. War, by nature, is bloody, it's not pretty, it's dirty, and it's especially dangerous for civilians. What do I mean? In modern urban warfare, the United Nations states that the average across modern urban wars, the United Nations states this, you can look it up, is a 9-to-1, meaning 90% civilian to combatant death ratio. You could look it up. It's a very high number in modern urban warfare. In this war, if you use conservative estimates referring to Hamas's numbers, which are, we all know, are BS, but if you use their numbers, And I think it's fair to say if you're going to use their numbers, you also have to use Israel's numbers. So we're going to say about 15, 16,000 Hamasniks killed, right? And they say whatever it is, 35,000, 40,000, whatever number you want to throw. We are like 1.3, 1.4 to 1. And that is specifically because of our desire to protect civilians. Like I said, my team and I assisted in escorting civilians, Palestinian civilians, by the thousands, by the tens of thousands, at the expense of our own lives when Hamas could be embedded amongst them. Okay? Thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of leaflets have been dropped to tell people where to be and where not to be, because we're going to strike. And in the end of the day, again, this is a war, right? This is a war, and they are fighting amongst civilians. Hamas is not wearing military garb. They're not wearing a military uniform and saying, hey, shoot me, I'm Hamas. No, they look exactly like the civilians. So when somebody is killed, they count them as a civilian, not as a combatant. So then my point is if you look at the Geneva Convention and international law, if somebody is using, according to Geneva, if somebody is using a civilian infrastructure, say a hospital or a kindergarten or a school, as a base to launch attacks on the other side, the counterparty, that location is no longer protected by international law. Simple. That's how the law works. And who's responsible for that? It's definitely not Israel. If Hamas is putting their people at risk intentionally and launching attacks from hospitals, who is at fault there? Hamas. Why would it be Israel's fault if they're using their own people as human shields? I would love you to answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, listen.
It's not a laughing matter, it's super serious.
It's absolutely very serious. About 40,000 Palestinians have been killed.
How many are combatants?
Actually, so there are named and identified about
24,000 people have been named. They've confirmed 24,000 people of your alleged 40,000
About
members.
40,000, and
Right.
estimates are currently at like 200,000.
Are what?
Who've been killed, civilians who've been killed. Churches.
Okay, let me give it to you like this. You ready for this? I'll give it to you very simple. You don't want people to die? There have been 17 ceasefire opportunities on the table for Hamas to accept since October. 17. What are the two requirements? Hold on, what are the two requirements? What are the two requirements? Release the hostages, Hamas disarms. If they really cared about their people, they would be demanding that Hamas and the international community would be putting pressure on Hamas to accept one of those ceasefire opportunities. 17. We are now in month 8. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. Hold on. I want to add another thing. I want to add another thing, and then I'll let you respond. War is inherently bloody. This is war. We did not ask for this war. They started a war with us. If you don't want people to die, don't start a war. But you know what bothers me the most? What bothers me the most is the tragedy selectivism. Okay? Because if you're going to go ahead and make problems that Israel is defending themselves in a war, where were you when Bashar al-Assad killed 500,000 Muslims? Where were you when in the Yemen Civil War 450,000 Muslims were killed? And as you and I speak, safe in America, there are 1.2 million Muslims in Chinese internment camps. Where are you fighting for them? But you choose Israel, the singular Jewish state, defending themselves against radical terrorism. I rest.
To Joe's question, first of all, who started this war? On October 7th, Hamas came in, took babies and put them in ovens and burned them in front of their parents.
To him, that didn't happen.
Okay? I just want to, who started this thing, right? It wasn't Israel, A. B, you know, oh, it's so frustrating. I see these videos of Hamas carrying a child on a stretcher, right? And they're going across the street.
Yeah, so
and you hear
the rocket sirens.
The sirens, and they drop the stretcher.
And then the kid gets up out of the stretcher.
And the kid gets off the stretcher and runs in the other direction.
It's called palliative.
So they're making videos, as Hamas does so well, you know, to influence these young people about what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, Hamas didn't ask Israel get out of the way, the civilians. This was a war against civilians.
They intentionally targeted.
They intentionally targeted women, raped them, children, killed them, terrified these families. And I just don't get what the thinking is. What are they looking at and watching? And the other thing is, I think we heard, and now do I have all the facts? No, but from a very good source, that most of these people on these college campuses are between 35 and 45 years old. They're being paid by Iran, by Soros. I mean, all their tents match. They're all pretty and they all match.
Yeah.
Come on,
And the posters are really posted.
We as Christians need to stand up for truth. God tells us to stand up, speak out for truth. And that's what we need to do. We need to pray, support them financially, with prayers, in every way we can. Because what he says, they're coming after all of us.
Yep.
It's very clear. And how did that happen in Nazi Germany? Right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just had.
Oh, with you. And I want to just something to your point. Nazi Germany did not start with gas chambers, and it didn't start with crematoria. It started by vilifying Jews with exactly what that gentleman was saying before, saying that we're committing genocide, so we deserve what's happening. It did not start with Auschwitz. It started with us being less than human and us deserving it. Just like all these people who are making excuses for Hamas, saying the women who were raped, oh, they're settlers. They deserve it. Or the babies who are killed, they're growing up to be settlers, to be future IDF soldiers. They deserve it. We have no place for that in our community.
Still have that 9-month-old baby?
Fear?
No?
Bibos, yeah.
Not 9 months old anymore, but yes.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Thank you very much.
What you
Appreciate
do.
it.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have good parents.
To be the voice of young people and to point these things out in the world. I'm a Andor restorer, and Pastor Ben is just amazing. His family and everything they do here, and I'm familiar with the Jewish community, having been a part of it down in California. And I really hope that your voice stays strong and that you continue to make a difference and show people, especially young people, what it looks like now.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
We have people waiting, but
Yeah, sure.
I know there's people leaving, and I want to make sure we get to their questions in the box. How can Jews, Christians, Muslims, and all of the races and religions unite to strengthen interfaith relations and collaboratively stand against the threats of communism, anti-Semitism, and anti-American sentiment in America?
Doing exactly what we're doing right now. Getting together, being together, and just consistently saying that we're going to stand together. This is the only thing that we can really do. Because we don't want to fight. We are not fighters. We are people who want to unite and live in peace. And we have to make sure that that happens. The only way to do that is to have these difficult conversations, to have these uncomfortable, I don't even want to say uncomfortable, but these tough questions. I don't mind the tough questions, but it's being together and having a voice as one people. And so if we continue to do these things, it doesn't matter what faith, what community you're in, this is the answer. This is the solution. So just keep standing together.
Question from our basket. Do you know of any way to send a letter to any of the three hostages?
Ooh, that's a good question. That I don't know. However, yeah, go ahead.
My mic just went, okay. We actually at the Idaho-Israel Alliance have a contact with the Consulate General of Israel, so come talk to me. I might be able to help you with that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, hi.
Let's go.
I'm a Hindu from India, and you guys, Christians, Jews, Muslims, everyone has invited me, and I am comfortably standing here speaking. So
Thanks for being here.
That's how it is. The question I had is that I know that our generation, at the same age as you, has been given so much algorithmic pressure to be on one side or the other, whichever it might be. Do you think it's the same in Israel as well, or is it worse in America? And is it because the service mandatory nature of Israel, it gives them the sense of what a nation is?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, when something like October 7th happens, it's very similar to 9/11, right? In New York, everybody's like, forget about it, you know, and like are mean to each other, and it's kind of like a tough environment in New York. But then 9/11 happens, and what happens? Everybody came together. In Israel, there was crazy stuff. There were protests in the streets of Tel Aviv by the hundreds of thousands before October 7th. Suddenly, October 7th happens, not a single person cared where you stood politically, where you stood religiously, did not care anything. The only thing that mattered was uniting, because the only way to go forward is united. And if we aren't, we're going to fall. Yeah. Thank you very much. Sure.
I was in Israel about 11 years ago with our church group, and absolutely amazing. And saw a lot of Muslims in Israel. If we were in, say, Tel Aviv or Jerusalem today, what would be, you answered, the gentleman before, that you answered my question, he asked it kind of about all the Jews are now totally, if I understood it correctly, totally in support of going after Hamas.
Most.
Correct.
I would say most.
Most, right. What, as a percentage, say the common Muslim in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, how do they do this?
Look, it's an interesting thing. The common person in Israel proper, I would say, is just as scared of radical Islam. Because when the rockets are above your head, those rockets don't discriminate whether you're Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Hindu, or a tourist. They do not discriminate. Those rockets will target you and kill you, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. When the suicide bombings were happening in the early thousands, and buses and cafes and restaurants and discotheques and hotels were being blown up by suicide bombings, that didn't discriminate who you were, Jewish, non-Jewish, it didn't matter. Terror is terror. It's that simple. And so I think there's 20% of the population of Israel who are Muslim, and I served with Muslims on my team. And these people want Hamas to go just like anybody else. And I really hope that that's the sentiment all around, because that's the only way forward, really. We need to get rid of them.
People are starting to trickle out. I appreciate all you guys so much. We have like 4 questions left.
I don't know how to pose this question, but I grew up in a Jewish family, and I'm very concerned about the Jewish community at large. And I know that there's kind of a silence transcending on the community because of so much fear. And in America, yes. And I would like you to address that, and also the other part of the Jewish community where they're still progressive and they're against this whole thing and the war and, you know, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, so I think there's 2 things. One is, and I say this every single time, this is not a time to be fearful. This is not a time to be scared of being a Jew. This is the time to put your kippah on your head. This is not the time to take your Magen David necklace and put it in your shirt. This is the time to wear it out proudly. It's the time to wear your hostage thing out and about proudly. I go on the subway and I'm wearing my kippah, I'm wearing everything. This is the time to double down on your identity. If you feel like this is a time to be scared of being a Jew, no. This is the time to be proud to be a Jew. October 7th has empowered us. Okay? Our enemies only make us stronger. They bring us together. And it's a terrible thing that it takes something like this to happen for us to be together. But in the end of the day, this is what it is. And we really, yes, we are small in number, but we are very mighty, especially with our allies. So.
Hello. Forgive me if my question has already been addressed. I was outside for a bit. And also forgive my ignorance if this question is offensive, but I'm curious, why doesn't the administration create like a corridor along Egypt and Jordan to allow the Palestinians to just, if they want to flee, go to the West Bank?
Well, first of all, let's make something very clear. All the other countries refuse to help in any way. There are 49 Muslim countries in the world, 22 Arab nations, not a single one. Not a single one has offered help for any of the Palestinians. Not a single one has offered temporary refugee status. Egypt borders Gaza, and they have not. Sisi, the president, literally said that they will fight to not let a single Palestinian in. So let's just get that out there. That's one thing. So you can't collaborate with them.
I meant not enter Egypt or Jordan.
You meant to the West Bank.
But just create a
How do you do that?
I don't know. But if I
it's a long way from Gaza to you'd be cutting through all of Israel, and I think that would be pretty difficult to accomplish. And by the way, that would require
along the border.
Right. There's also 2 million.
Isn't there a large Palestinian population in
There's 2 million. There's 2 million Palestinians in Gaza. Right. You cannot increase the population in the West Bank by 2 million and expect it to not be catastrophic for like humanitarian reasons. It just wouldn't hold. And then on top of that, what would happen then to Gaza? And the world wouldn't allow us to do that. There's like so many different things that just doesn't work. Like it just topographically, I don't even think it would work. Like I don't know. That would take years and years and years to build. So yeah, it's a good thought though.
It's just an idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I think if it would have worked, somebody would have thought that out though. But thank you, I appreciate it.
Shalom, Sam. Hi. And I experienced terrorist attacks 30 years ago in Israel. And terrorist attack would be a bomb, maybe in a bus. Were you impressed by the capability and ability and the weapon that Hamas has now fighting? And without being political, what as an Israeli American should be my views against Iran? I have my own things, but what do you think we can do to change the PR towards Israel that the Hamas is so strong, people have no idea what they have. Because I hear from Israel the story what they have, it's not advertised in America.
No, not at all.
Not at all. So you've been there, so you saw how strong they are. When I was a child, they had maybe a slingshot and one weapon.
Look, I mean, we would go into houses and we would be, I was saying this the other night, we would move a couch out of the way and we'd hear something shaking in the couch. You flip over the couch, you open it up, and there's an RPG. Or you'd be taking over a room, you'd see in the bathroom, we saw there was this toilet that was like slightly slanted, it looked like kind of off. Moved it out of the way, there was a box of grenades under the toilet. This is what we're dealing with. Or an Uzi under a child's bed. I mean, this is just what we're dealing with. And am I impressed by Hamas? I'm not impressed by Hamas. These people are terrorists and they're a gang. Their capabilities, what they did on October 7th, was not them alone. Let's make that very clear. It was Iran, it was Russia, it was probably China as well, all collaborating to help. Whether it was a cyber attack, or whether it was giving them the munitions to do what they did, this was not done alone. Let's not give them enough credit. They don't deserve the credit. Okay? That's first things first. Second, Lebanon is a way bigger threat. Way bigger threat. And that war is going to be very difficult, but we're going to get through that as well. Israel has been through greater odds. The Jewish people have been through greater odds. We will get through whatever comes our way because we don't have a choice. We don't have another land. This is it. And so we must win. We will.